On that particular day, it was not only John Wick who abandoned crime, but this master thief also left the world of crime to live with love of his life.
I'm the in-and-out bandit. I want to turn myself in.
But all his dreams shattered when corrupt FBI agents attacked the woman he loved, leaving her half dead. This reminded him of his father's brutal death and set him on a path to take historic revenge. Welcome back to Paramount Recaps. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me.
Agent Evans, I'm coming for you.
The film begins with Tom Dolan, a skilled professional thief known as the In-N-Out Bandit. Over the past 6 years, Tom has successfully executed 8 bank heists across different states, leaving no evidence behind. The police have no leads on his identity. Tom regularly visits a storage facility to stash his stolen cash. The facility's receptionist is Annie Wilkins, a psychology graduate student. As they interact more frequently, they develop a connection, and it's clear that Tom is attracted to her. After a year of dating, Tom suggests they take their relationship to the next level by buying a property and moving in together. Annie, who has endured the emotional toll of a divorce and the difficulties of a previous relationship, happily agrees. However, she remains unaware of Tom's secret life as a notorious thief. Despite Tom Dolan's criminal past, he has fallen deeply in love with Annie and is determined to start a new, honest life with her. To do this, he decides to turn himself in to the FBI. The morning after his decision, Tom contacts the FBI and confesses his identity as the In-N-Out Bandit, explaining that he has stolen over $9 million from 12 banks across 7 states. Tom speaks with Special Agent Sam Baker and offers a deal. He will return all the stolen money in exchange for a lighter sentence. Specifically, he asks for a minimum security prison near the city with full visitation rights for 2 years. Tom's motivation is clear. He wants to prove to Annie that he is committed to an honest life with her. However, Baker is skeptical of Tom's confession. The FBI has received numerous false confessions from people claiming to be the In-N-Out Bandit, so Baker doesn't take Tom seriously. He agrees to meet Tom at the Charleston Hotel the next day, but hands the case off to Special Agents John Nivens and Ramon Hall, tasking them with investigating the confession. 2 days pass with no follow-up from the FBI, leaving Tom frustrated. He calls the FBI again and speaks with Agent Sean Mayers, who informs him that the case has been assigned to 2 good agents, and abruptly hangs up. Just as Tom ends the call, there is a knock at the door. He opens it to find Agents John Nivens and Ramon Hall, ready to hear his confession in person. Tom Dolan, now in custody, is asked by Special Agents John Nivens and Ramon Hall to provide details about his robberies to confirm his identity. Tom discloses that he targeted small-town banks with funds dating back to the 1950s. He explains that these banks had an empty adjacent building, which was crucial for his operations, as it allowed him to use a common wall to access the vault. Tom also reveals that he carried out the robberies on Friday evening, used gelatine to handle bolts and nuts, drilled into the vaults, and patched up the walls to cover his tracks. The agents insist that before considering any deal for a lighter sentence, they need to know the location of the stolen money. Tom provides the address of the storage unit where the cash is hidden and offers to accompany them to the location, but Agent Ramon refuses the offer, taking the key from Tom and instructing him to wait at the hotel. As John and Ramon search for the money, John's attitude shifts. He sees an opportunity to benefit personally from the situation. Instead of using the stolen money as evidence, John proposes to Ramon that they steal it to fund his children's education and pay off his mortgage. Despite John's pressure, Ramon remains principled and refuses to cooperate. Tom waits anxiously at the hotel, and eventually, Annie unexpectedly arrives. She mistakes John and Ramon for Tom's old friends, as they frame themselves in this way, and John and Ramon confirm her assumption. Annie is pleased to hear that Tom plans to move into the house they had discussed and leaves to meet Tom at the hotel. Meanwhile, Myers informs Baker about Tom's confession, leading Baker to believe that no one has followed up on the case. John and Ramon decide to hide the money in an undisclosed location and return to the hotel. When Annie arrives at the hotel, John and Ramon confirm they found the money. John, now intent on eliminating Tom to cover his tracks, plans to kill him. As John prepares to act, Tom reveals that only $3 million was recovered from the storage unit, with $6 million still missing. Just as John questions Tom about the remaining funds, funds. Baker arrives and is shocked to see John's gun drawn. John decides to keep his plans secret from Baker and forces Ramon to let him in at gunpoint. A confrontation ensues, and John kills Baker. Tom tries to intervene, but both he and John fall out of the window. Tom sees Annie in shock and urges her to run for safety. Tom Dolan and Annie are forced to flee together after John and Ramon shoot at them, but are unable to stop their escape. During the chase, John and Ramon realize that Tom has stolen Ramon's gun, which complicates their pursuit. Annie, bewildered by the unfolding chaos, demands explanations from Tom. He promises to explain once they are in safety. As they hide, Tom reveals the truth about his criminal life to Annie. He explains that he has never killed anyone or spent any of the stolen money. His life of crime began after his father was unjustly fired and deprived of his pension by the company's CEO, who committed embezzlement. Tom's father, unable to cope with the loss and his wife's death, did not seek justice. Tom turned to bank robbery as a form of revenge and to find excitement, but meeting Annie made him reevaluate his priorities. She became the reason he had not robbed any banks in the past year. Back at the Charleston Hotel, Myers mourns Baker's death and vows to find his killer. Meanwhile, Tom warns Annie that she could be implicated in Baker's death and urges her to leave town to avoid suspicion. John tells Myers about losing Baker and accuses Tom of being the killer, also reporting that they found nothing in the warehouse. Tom and Annie part ways as she boards a bus, with Tom promising they will meet again. Annie asks him to prove his innocence in Baker's death, and they share a heartfelt goodbye. The next morning, Myers, John, and Ramon review Tom's file and security footage that identifies Annie. They discuss her recent divorce, and Myers directs them to locate Tom. Annie calls Tom from the warehouse to inform him of the CCTV footage showing John and Ramon removing boxes from his storage unit. She returned to save the evidence from being overwritten. Tom tells her to leave immediately and calls 911 for police assistance, but decides to go to the storage facility himself. Just as Annie is about to leave her office, John arrives and demands to know where Tom hid the remaining $6 million. When she tries to escape, John assaults her and searches for the memory card containing the CCTV footage. Despite her attempts to defend herself with scissors, John knocks her unconscious. Ramon intervenes, persuading John to flee before Annie is discovered. Tom arrives at the storage facility, finds injured Annie, and rushes her to the hospital. He quickly leaves to avoid the police. In the car, he calls the FBI and uses Myers to contact John. Myers, overhearing the conversation, John pretends not to know about Annie. Intrigued by the situation, Myers decides to visit Annie in the hospital. While Tom is on the street, a local police officer recognizes him and begins to chase him. John and Ramon, having tracked Tom, also move in on his location. Tom parks behind some bushes and, seeing John and Ramon, backs up into their vehicle, trapping them. John begins shooting at Tom, who returns fire. During the confrontation, Myers spots Tom and starts chasing him. Tom lures Myers into an ambush, and they engage in a fight. During the struggle, Tom accuses John of being guilty and reveals that John attacked Annie. Tom disarms Myers, who urges Tom to turn himself in, promising that he will be held accountable. Tom, however, is determined to handle things his own way, despite Myers' assurances. Tom Dolan throws Ramon's gun at him as proof of his claims and escapes. That night, after staying at a hotel, Tom calls the hospital where Annie is being treated and learns that she cannot speak at the moment but is expected to recover soon. Meanwhile, John heads to the hospital to ensure that Annie doesn't survive. He refrains from acting when he notices Myers is present in her room. The following morning, Myers confronts John, questioning his belief in Tom's story and the whereabouts of the stolen funds. Despite John's attempts to conceal the truth, Myers remains unconvinced and returns Ramon's gun, instructing both John and Ramon to resume their duties. John remains fixated on his selfish goals, while Ramon is terrified of being discovered by Myers. That night, Tom decides to follow Ramon home. When Ramon's wife notices his anxiety and urges him to do the right thing, Ramon, while keeping his secrets, tells her that his actions are for her and their children. He asks her to remember this if anything happens to him. Suddenly, the sound of the garage door alerts Ramon, and Tom disarms him, urging him to help restore his innocence. Reluctant to be John's accomplice, Ramon reveals that he secretly stole the warehouse security camera tape from Annie, a fact John is unaware of. He advises Tom to save Annie from the hospital because John plans to kill her. Tom rushes to the hospital, ensures Annie's safety, and sneaks her into his hotel room. The next morning, Tom calls Myers while buying equipment at a hardware store, informing him that Annie is with him and assuring Myers that she is not involved in his plans. Despite Myers' concerns, Tom is determined to carry out his plan. He returns to his hotel room and assembles a bomb. The following day, Annie, now recovering, insists on accompanying Tom a short distance from John's residence. Tom calls John and demands he confess to his wrongdoing. John, threatening Tom, tries to dismiss him, but Tom begins a countdown from 10, warning John of a potential explosion. As Tom's countdown reaches its final moments, John's house catches fire, and he is forced to jump out to escape the impending danger. After John's house catches fire, Tom hands Annie the CCTV memory card he obtained from Ramon and asks her to deliver it to Myers. Meanwhile, John reaches his hideout and calls Ramon, urging him to join him. At the warehouse, Myers receives the memory card from Annie. She tells him that Tom is a good man and, to demonstrate his goodwill, unlocks another storage room to reveal the remaining $6 million. John, armed with 2 guns, prepares for an encounter with Ramon, unaware that Tom is secretly with him. Tom, pretending to take Ramon hostage, confronts John and demands he drop his gun, revealing that he has the security memory card. Furious over Ramon's betrayal, John fights with him and ends up shooting and killing him. John then turns his aggression toward Tom, and a gunfight ensues. John manages to escape with the money, leaving Tom injured. Tom calls John to inform him that he has planted a pressure-sensitive bomb under the seat of John's vehicle. John, trapped in his car, is forced to wait for the police bomb disposal squad. Tom retrieves the tape recording of John's confession from Ramon's body and mourns his death. As John's vehicle is surrounded by Myers and the police, the bomb disposal team discovers that the device is a fake. John, enraged, is arrested by Myers for attempting to steal the money. When Myers returns to his office, he finds an envelope containing the recording, which exposes John as the thief and the murderer of Ramon. Myers meets with Annie and thanks Tom for helping to bring John to justice. Tom, ready to face the consequences of his actions, turns himself in and expresses his desire to become a better person. Myers promises to do what he can to shorten Tom's sentence, recognizing Tom's sincere intent to change.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below with your suggestions for future videos, any questions you have, or just to say hi. Your feedback is super important to us and helps us create better content for you. Also, feel free to share this video with your friends, family, and on social media. It really makes a big difference and helps our community grow. You can follow us on Insert your social media handles for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.